Hello and welcome along to this week's episode of the Endless Stream podcast. I am Aidan and I am here as usual with Kevin and Brian. The three of us all work in art or animation to some extent, so you will find our Instagram account is updated regularly with some sketches and drawings to go inside with the release of the podcasts. If you feel like joining in the fun and doing a drawing based on something you heard on the podcast or something you might have watched, tag us at the Endless Cast on Instagram and let us see what you're working on. Each week we take a look at some of the endless stream of content that is delivered to us through Netflix, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Disney Plus. Anywhere you get your content, we're going to watch a chunk of it and we're going to talk about it. Now, we are not going to hold back on any of this. These conversations are very spoiler heavy. If you haven't watched The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, if you haven't watched Invincible, maybe go off and watch those things and come back and join us. If you enjoyed the podcast, please consider subscribing and maybe following us over on Instagram or Twitter. All of our socials are at The Endless Cast. You can reach us at theendlesscast@gmail.com. And other than that, there's not much else to say beyond let's get into the conversation. Okay, so this week we have the usual things to talk about. We're going to talk about Invincible, we're going to talk about The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. But let's talk about some of the stuff that's going on in media, film, nerd news this week. In terms of streaming things, while I've been working, I've just been binging House again. I don't know if people remember House. 2004. Shit, that's a long time ago. I didn't realize it was that long ago. Kev, you said you were watching Raising Dion. I don't know anything about Raising Dion. Tell us about it.
Well, aside from just watching, I actually haven't looked into it. Like in the background of it, I think it's just cashing in the whole like superhero trend. However, like the first episode was really, really interesting, really good.
Well, give us a synopsis of the very concept, because I have no idea what it is. When you say it's cashing in on the superhero thing,
yeah. So basically,
I know what that means.
A woman, it's a single mother, and she's left raising her child after her husband died, saving a stranger during a storm because he was a storm chaser, and then kind of she's finding it tough because of work-life balance, all that kind of stuff, and she's losing her job and all that kind of thing. And then Dion, her little fella, starts to kind of exhibit telekinesis and like telepathy and like teleportation, or just like all these like different powers, and she kind of freaks out and ends up kind of moving out to a cabin in the woods to kind of take him away from everybody and keep people safe. But like he's incredibly strong, like he has no control. It's like a child, like because he is a child, but it's like if a child does have those powers, like you see, like is it Reed Richards' children? In this one, it's like a little fella, and he wants the ice cream, so he's gonna get it, and like the whole truck could come flying towards him, that kind of way. He just has no control.
I don't know if it's an episode or I can't remember if it's in the film or something, but there's a story in the Twilight Zone where like everybody's tiptoeing around this kid that can just like manifest anything into existence, they have to like keep pictures of things away from him because or him or her, I can't remember. Well, it's just I want a boat, and the boat will fucking appear in your living room, and it's like it's good and bad.
But it's good. Michael, I want to say Michael B. Jordan, but I could be really wrong. Is that the actor's name?
Michael B. Jordan is he was Killmonger in Black Panther.
Yes, yeah. He's the father in it.
Where would you watch it?
Netflix.
Oh, it's a Netflix. Is it a Netflix
original
show, or did they buy it? Is a Netflix original.
I liked it. Kind of seeing how it goes, anyways. But like, it's engaging enough.
Did you watch I'm Not Okay With This on Netflix?
I watched the first 2 or 3 episodes of that. I think I kind of got a Carrie vibe.
Kind of, yeah. It's worth watching as well.
In terms of teenage girl who starts manifesting powers,
yeah, it's very good. It's worth kind of watching to the end, because just the way that you described, Kev, it reminded me.
Yeah, I watched some of that. Yeah, the poor girl, and she has a really kind of selfish mother. Even though like I know it's like she's a single mother, but she's like not very understanding to the girl. I watched maybe
You talking about Carrie or
no? Like but it's like Carrie. It really is, but yeah. Strong Carrie vibes.
It's funny because like it's clearly got a bit of kind of a Carrie thing to it, I guess, but I got more of a comic book vibe from it than horror, I guess. So we're watching if you haven't watched all of it.
Yeah. I did like what I saw. Yeah, definitely.
When you said I'm not okay with this reminded me that at the same time as that was on, I think I was watching
The End of the Fucking World.
Is it called
I thought that, Brian.
No.
Have you watched that? That's really good.
Season 1.
I haven't watched that. It was What I was watching at the same time as I'm not okay with this was Unorthodox, I think.
Oh, yeah, that was around the same time.
I haven't.
I
seen
watched
it,
that.
no.
That's
It
brilliant.
was funny because it was just like jumping from.
It wasn't funny at all.
It wasn't funny. What are you talking? Oh
What?
my god!
The
Jesus.
actual fuck.
Oh my god!
The
Yeah,
drastic tonal shift in things I was watching in an evening was amusing.
Yes. Oh, I understand. Sorry. Yes.
That's on you.
Unorthodox was great. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, it was a cool show and like a glimpse into that world.
Very frustrating to watch though, when like kind of, you know, she's like living her best life, and like, you know, you kind of, obviously she's going for her goals and all that kind of stuff, and the other guy, I think it's her ex-husband and his cousin or something, or her cousin or whatever, but like they come there to chase her down, and they're like, the cousin was an awful character initially anyways. I can't remember how it goes,
But I think it did a good job of making, like, when we say he was an awful character, like, he wasn't cartoonishly villainous.
No,
he was
no.
a very understandably flawed person trying to exist within a very strict structure, getting a lot more leeway than she got, though.
Yeah.
Which was notable. So sorry, I've derailed Raising Dion though. It's good. You recommend having a look at it?
But yeah, like it's fine so far. Yeah, it's pretty decent. Yeah, I'll stick with it. You know, it's kind of, I think because season 2 is coming out, it's probably a good time to watch if you want to watch it.
Michael B. Jordan's really getting a lot done these days. He's producing a bunch of animation. He's directing the next Rocky or Creed film.
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
I like him.
he's doing Static Shock for DC as well.
Oh, he's doing
Is that live action or is that animated?
I can't remember. Probably animated, I think, but I'm not sure, to be honest. It might be live action.
I really liked Static Shock growing up. Like it was
Yes,
it was
yeah, I
DC
loved it.
animated, and you could tell it was the sort of like clearly it was aimed at a younger crowd. Like the art direction wasn't anywhere nearly as serious as the sort of Batman stuff or the DC world that was going on. It definitely had a kiddier vibe, but it was good.
I watched Palm Springs this week.
Oh right, that's
Quite liked it.
Andy Samberg and
Kristen Milotti. I say it's the guys kind of from The Lonely Island.
Okay.
Even though Samberg is the only one from The Lonely Island in it, but it's still kind of made under there. It's on Amazon. I think it came out a couple of months ago. I think it might have been on Hulu first or something.
I do remember people talking about it in the middle of last year as something to watch, and it gets mentioned. You tell me as much or as little as you want here, but people do mention Groundhog Day next to it, but then they also say,
I love that.
go into it knowing as little as you possibly can.
Oh, great.
Yeah, that's exactly what I would say.
Oh God, I'm gonna watch it tonight.
I knew there was a Groundhog Day element to it, but I didn't know how it played out or any of that. And yeah, just go into it knowing that much. You don't need to know any more, because the way it handles it is maybe a bit different than we're used to those kind of stories.
Brilliant.
But it's
Great.
lots of fun.
Yeah, brilliant. I can't wait.
Yep.
And it's interesting. I heard someone describe, like the moment Hollywood decided that Groundhog Day was a genre, and you could just do, Tom Cruise sci-fi Groundhog Day or horror movie. What is that? Happy Death Day.
Yeah, which is good. Yeah.
And there's the one with, is it Marlon Wayans, where he wakes up naked in an elevator?
Oh, I know the one, and he's getting married, I think, in it and stuff.
Yeah.
Then there's the one, I think there's a kind of a Groundhog Day one with the guy who, he was in Workaholics, I think, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Adam Devine.
It could be Adam Devine. He's in Pitch Perfect and stuff.
Yeah, it's Adam Devine.
Yeah, I think he's in one that's kind of a bit Groundhog Day, isn't it? Like or else he goes back in time or something.
Russian Doll has that thing going on as well.
That was brilliant. That was actually really good.
Russian Doll, for me, picked up once we got past
The apartment.
The party.
the first 2 or 3 episodes. Kind of are setting up that there's a Groundhog Day element to play. Once we get past that and they start breaking beyond it, that's when it really came to life for me. And by the end of it, I loved it.
Edge of Tomorrow is a great one though.
Yeah, I really like that movie, but I think it kind of, I wish they hadn't abandoned it at the end. I wish they'd found a way to work with the conceit they'd put in place rather than taking it away from them at the. I know taking away unlimited lives makes it raise the stakes.
Yeah.
But
Listen, I really like that film. I think it's a lot of fun, and it deserved to kind of be seen by more people. But I will say as well, like, there isn't, the action in it is very kind of perfunctory.
There's that
Like,
word
there's
again.
no-
I had to Google that word.
There's there's no point in it where I'm like, I gotta see that scene again. You know, there's no. Even though I'll rewatch the film because I enjoy it, but there's no action set piece in it where I'm like,
I'd come back for Emily Blunt's Cobra stretch,
yeah. I mean, but you can just watch the GIF.
and I do.
I
We
don't know
do,
what that
of
is.
course.
I
Of
also
course we do.
that's something I have to Google. What's perfunctory? I can't remember, and I googled it after listening to our own podcast.
Just serving its purpose and not doing a whole lot more. So
Lip
the action
service or
is-
ticking a box.
they arrive on the beach and they got to take out the aliens, and it's just it reminds me a lot of the end of the Matrix Revolutions in Zion. Like, I like the design of the suits; they look
Mhm.
cool. There's a couple of great shots where like there's a swarm, and it's like a swarm of the Sentinels coming at, like, I think the character was Mifune. Great shot, but in terms of the action, it's just like it just kind of boring to watch. It's like, and he's shooting and they're flying around him and they're shooting, and it's kind of much the same in the action in Edge of Tomorrow is, how is he going to die this time?
I like that.
You know,
but
it's not about there's a brilliant moment on the beach where he's doing this and that. Like, there's a moment where you realize how skillful he's after getting, and he takes out like a load of the kind of aliens in a row, but it doesn't want to stay with it. You know, it's just like, there he is, he did it, and it's like 3 seconds, and now you know how proficient he's become. It's not about the action. It's just about more, and which is a good thing too. Like, just action serving the story. But I think that's kind of one of the reasons why it maybe didn't find.
Kev is giving us a Chevy Chase-esque style attempt to reassemble the pop shield of his microphone. And the chair's going to fall out from under you next. I'd take the thing off, Kev. Just maybe sit a little further back from it now, I guess, if you don't want to blow on it.
So I'm sorry.
But Edge of Tomorrow was based on I think it was a book first as well. Obviously, it might have come after Groundhog Day, but I guess the source material existed before. Oh, source code. There's one.
Actually, I only watched that, like, say, in the last, like, 3 or 4 years, because anytime it was ever brought in a conversation, people would spoil it for me.
What's the Denzel Washington one as well? Where the
Deja Vu.
Deja Vu. There's another one.
I saw that
Not
once.
quite
That
the
was
same
more
thing,
time
but-
travel, yeah.
It's kind of similar though.
Okay.
Similar-ish.
He gets to relive the same
It's like the
sequence
other-
of events.
It's probably got more in common with source code in that they
Like that amazing film Tenet. Well, there was a show on TV3.
TV3 only.
The weekly edition or something.
No, actually, you're saying early edition.
Early
And
edition,
that
yeah.
was Kyle Chandler?
Yeah, brilliant. I love that show. And the Indian guy from Johnny Five, Short Circuit.
Fisher Stevens.
Yeah,
He's
was in it.
not Indian.
Yeah, but he was the Indian guy from Short Circuit.
But he's not Indian.
I'm also not entirely sure he's the guy in early edition.
I'm pretty sure he is.
Aiden, what was the show you were talking about?
I was going to talk about how 90s TV3 does feel like an anomalous black hole that only I experienced.
Merlin.
Was it called 7 Days? A global catastrophic event would happen, and then they had a time machine that would let them go back a week, and the guy had to, like,
It's vaguely familiar.
he had this like orb that would spin around and shoot him into space and send him back 7 days, and he had to undo whatever terrorist attack or political
Networks
assassination.
greenlit a lot of weak sci-fi shows in the
Yeah, I loved
90s
it.
and early 2000s. There was a lot of...
Oh God, the third wave.
Did any of you remember Flash Forward? Good God. It came shortly after Lost, like before Lost kind of wrapped up, but it was basically... There's like a global event where everybody blacks out for like 5 minutes, and everybody in their blackout, they all got a glimpse of the future, their future, and they were trying to there was a few people kind of racing to like try prevent the next blackout from happening, but it was a large cast, and instead of like flashing back like they do in Lost, to people's, lives before they
Oh
arrived
my
on the
God,
island.
yeah,
It kept
yeah.
flashing forward, showing what vision each person had, and it was just, oh my God, it was garbage. It was so bad. I think it was based on a book too, actually. It was terrible.
When you said third wave, did you mean the first wave?
Oh, the first wave, yeah.
And
With the Notre Dame.
That's what I was going to say. The guy is stopping an alien invasion using the predictions of Nostradamus.
Yeah, brilliant stuff.
I loved that show.
Yeah, I loved it too. Higher brow than Stanley Tucci exploring Italy, if you ask me. But
I saw a Stanley Tucci lookalike in town yesterday. It was weird. I had to do a double take to make sure it wasn't him, because he was wearing a baseball cap, and I was like,
he's doing his next travel show.
Like, I genuinely was like, is that the Tucci?
Is that Mr. Tucci?
Mr. Tucci.
I'm still not even entirely sure it wasn't him. I mean, it probably was.
I mean, he could be doing a travel show.
Maybe it was. He could.
Cork is a pretty magical place.
That it is.
It's a beautiful place. Florida of Ireland.
They did that show with the guy who created Everybody Loves Raymond, called Somebody Feed Phil.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
And
yeah. I've seen it on Netflix.
that guy travels around eating food in different countries, and he came to Dublin and Wicklow, and the Happy Pear people made him go swimming in the 40-foot or something, or out in Bray.
It's a lovely area.
But speaking of perfunctory action,
I'm not endorsing the Bray slander.
No, I like Bray.
Bray's great. I mean, great people from Bray. I know some wonderful, wonderful people from Bray.
Yep, it's like the Florida of Ireland.
It's I was going to say Santa Monica, but it's wonderful, wonderful place, wonderful people.
Cork is the Florida of Ireland. Bray's lovely. Cork's also lovely.
Kerry's probably the Florida of Ireland. That place is wild.
What are you trying to imply? That's not what I'm implying.
It's Ireland's Wang.
if Ireland was going to fuck you, Kerry's what you'd see coming at you.
No.
There's Aiden taking it too far.
Speaking of perfunctory action, to bring us back to an edit point, Fast and Furious 9 trailer.
Yes, perfunctory.
So this is the story of
a bunch of regular car thieves.
A undercover police officer trying to stop a ring of race car drivers that are stealing DVD players from moving trucks.
And now they're the Avengers.
I don't know at what point they all developed
Doesn't
MMA
matter.
skills. I don't know at what point Mr. Han became a sniper.
Mm-hmm.
Did y'all watch the Fast and Furious 9
It's
trailer?
so far gone. They're just wild. They are so wild. But look, they're big, stupid action movies. That's fine, and if people enjoy them, that's great. But it's just, they are so far from where they started.
My only problem with them, really, like, they're not really for me. That's fine. Like I said, people like them. That's cool. It just grates on me so much when people act like they're so much more fun than they are. Like people are like, I love them. They're just so extreme and they're just so silly and so much fun. And like it's just gotten so absurd. But it's just like, it's 2 hours and it's just so entertaining. And it's like, it's not really though. Like they're not. They're not. Like if they were, just if you like them, cool. But
I think that rhetoric of it came out of Fast 5, I think, when they're in Rio.
5,
they had been kind of absurd but grounded.
I got
3 to 4.
I got free tickets to that. I'd seen the first 2. That was pretty much it, and I didn't check in with it again. I think until I got tickets for, basically there was a big marketing push for 5.
Yeah. Well, The Rock was
I
involved.
can't even remember where I got the free tickets for it, but there was free food at an event beforehand, and then we all went from the event to the cinema for the screening, and they made such a big deal about it. They showed a clip for Bridesmaids beforehand. It was like the scene where they're trying on the dresses and stuff, and like that. The entire it was a packed screen, and the entire place was just breaking themselves laughing at that scene from Bridesmaids. So they were just like primed to have a good time and stuff. But that will tell you like how much money they spent like marketing and selling the narrative that, like I said, Aiden, where the copy written about the franchise was, yeah, they are silly, they are wild. Let's just like, just be big fun. So like I was prepared to just actually sit back and go, okay, let's watch this and see how silly it gets, and is it as much fun as they're saying? And it wasn't. It's like I don't care that people like them. It's really impressive that it's an ensemble action movie that isn't based on like a Marvel or comics property. It's like that's insane that there's 9 of them, and like John Cena as his brother, and it's got its own lore, and it's like it's so much about family, and it's like, oh my god, his brother is the villain. It's
that
just
he's
like
never mentioned
9 movies
for 15 years
because he's not family. He hates him.
And the other thing is as well, like it's kind of like, it's like a lot of these actors, with the exception obviously of John Cena and The Rock, and maybe the handsome fella, what's his name, Jason Statham, but like a lot of them aren't up to a whole lot outside of this franchise. Oh, Jason Statham is very
rugged,
handsome.
Aiden.
I think
he's rugged.
He's lovely. He's gorgeous. Hey, I think he is. Fucking, what do you call it? I used to love them. Transporter, brilliant movie. The first one, anyways. Used to love it, but yeah, no, I'm just saying, like a lot of these guys don't have like huge careers outside of it. But it's funny that kind of like a B list of kind of celebrities put them together. It's one of the biggest like action franchises. I don't watch them. I'm not a big fan of them. I love stupid action movies. I there's a line, Extraction, too far. But
that episode won't air, Kev, so people won't get the joke. That's a deep cut. It's a deep cut.
Yes.
You know what? You know what?
It's bad. It's a bad movie.
Before we get onto like Falcon and Winter Soldier, the opening scene where they take out Walker, like it was okay, and it was just the fact that not as good as any of the fight scenes in Extraction, and I'll just leave it there.
I'll 100% agree with you. But we're going to go down I don't want to go down the Extraction rabbit hole again.
Let's not, please.
I just didn't like the narrative around it.
David Harbour's in it. I like David Harbour.
It was just fine.
David Harbour.
Okay.
Better than the Justice League, let's be fair.
The thing with Fast and the Furious, to me, I always find funny, is you can go back to that first Fast and the Furious movie and you can kind of point by point parallel it with Point Break. I wish I hadn't used the word point so many times in a row there. But in terms of undercover cop getting in too deep with an extreme subculture and falling in love with the sister, and like there's the robbery stuff. There's a lot of parallels between that and Point Break. And then it went off and it kind of did its own thing, and it expanded and expanded and expanded. And I found it funny then that when they went to do a remake of Point Break, it couldn't just be bank robbers and surfers now. They felt Fast and the Furious had parallel evolution alongside, like it had gone 15 years of evolution that Point Break hadn't done, and Point Break then tried to jump to where Fast and the Furious was. So they weren't just surfers at this point. They were skydivers, they were former military, they were snowboarding. We had to see a wide range of extreme sports, and like they hijack a military plane at one point, and like that. I don't want to get into that Point Break remake because it was just a waste of goddamn time, but I did think it was funny to look at it as an example of two movies that basically started in the exact same place, and one of them just kind of kept its audience and grew and got more and more absurd, and one of them, whether consciously or unconsciously, jumped to 5 or 6 steps in terms of what it tried to do. If they were trying to reboot Point Break, then reboot Point Break, but they jumped into an absurd place with it.
That was an awful.
Yeah, it was a waste.
That was an awful movie. That remake. Mm-hmm. It was awful. Yeah. Maybe hate extreme sports.
I had a couple of notes watching the Fast and the Furious trailer. Jet Li took a gun from Mel Gibson in the Lethal Weapon 4, and we are going to see that fucking move in every action movie forever. I'm sure that existed in martial arts and action movies before Lethal Weapon, but that's where I saw it.
I think Steven Seagal perfected that.
I don't know that it was ever impressive, and we're going to keep doing it. Vin Diesel got called soft looking next to The Rock one time, and now he's working them arms.
Oh,
with just the arms.
He is an odd one, yeah. And it's funny that like The Rock is gone from this franchise now. He's off in Hobbs and Shaw land, and he can stay over there. I don't think those two like each other. Man, we messing with magnets now. They've got a magnet car. that magnets things towards it and away from it. Moving on. Video game wise, I've been playing Warzone. We've mentioned this in previous podcasts, but there's talk of a new map being brought in. It's weird, like the pandemic has really been, I guess, a godsend for Infinity Ward, and it's got to have doubled or tripled the amount of people playing that Call of Duty game. And it's been a year or over a year at this point of people playing it, and I know for myself, rather than speaking broadly for the world, that like we could do with a new map. Like the map that you play on is huge, and it's got a variety of urban, rural, snowy terrain, high and low.
I was bored of it after about a month. I was like, when are they giving us new maps? I'm bored of this place.
Yep, and that's fair. And every so often you hear rumblings of, oh, they're finally going to give us a new map, or they're going to expand it and put a new section on it. And I'm still playing it, and I'm still enjoying it because I'm playing with friends and we're chatting and we're, goal setting in the game. But I could do a new map, and I was kind of looking forward to it. And there's supposed to be something coming this coming Wednesday. Depending on when this gets released, I think that's Wednesday, the 21st of April. And then someone said to me today, they're just reskinning it to look like it's the 80s, and the buildings won't be as tall, and it's trying to come in line with
no good.
the Black Ops game in terms of its era. And I mean, look, I'll wait and see how it is. I'll probably have good fun in it, but again, I think the fun I'm having is playing with friends rather than the actual game at this point, because I could do with a new map, I could do with a new feature, I could do with something. You were looking at Resident Evil, Brian?
Yeah, they did a little kind of a showcase on Thursday night, I think. They'd mentioned a couple of months back that there'd be a demo, there'd be 2 demos, and like the first demo was just for PS5, and then they mentioned that the next demo would be available on PS4 and then possibly other consoles too as well. I'm not actually sure. So I was kind of expecting them to say during that showcase on Thursday night that, you can download it now. Here you go. But it's a timed demo during like a weekend, and it's kind of frustrating. There's basically, between now and the release of the game, there'll be a 30-minute demo each weekend available for like a kind of a couple of, I think, 8 hours over the weekend. So like I'm excited to play it and try it out, but it's just, I don't know, I think it's kind of a misguided way to keep hype rolling for the next 3 or 4 weeks, to like just give you 30 minutes to play during an 8-hour window, and then another 30 minutes the following weekend.
When's the release date for this game? Because I've been seeing giant vampire lady gifs for 6 months at this point.
It's out in May, early May. So basically there's a 30-minute demo for a section of the game this Sunday. I think it's based in the village. And then next Sunday, there's 30 minutes in the castle. And then the weekend after that, you can get 60 minutes playing both the castle and the village. And then the game is out the following Thursday, kind of. So it's not that long away, but it's just kind of frustrating that, the showcase was on at 11 p.m. on a Thursday night. So I was kind of expecting to, by the end of it, get to try the game, because that's how they did it at the previous showcase. It was like, during it was like, and you can download the demo right now, but only on PS5.
Right.
So I was expecting to get a little kind of...
Terry got a PS5, actually, one of my friends. He got one.
I think my nephew got one a couple of weeks ago, like a week or 2 ago, but he's bigger than me now, so I can't steal it from him.
He's 8.
He's 8 and he's 6 feet tall. Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, he is bigger than Brian.
He's not 8 though. He's like 15.
But he is bigger than Brian though.
He is.
Which is funny. He's bigger than me, I'd say.
Yeah, he's 6 foot at least. Yeah, so he's... Yeah.
Yeah.
Aiden, you'll have to beat him up for us.
I don't. That's not my temperament.
Fine. Whatever.
A couple of short kings.
Please don't.
What?
I hate the word king, or referring to something. Oh God, I hate it.
So talking about...
I wasn't finished talking about
what?
tall vampire lady. How dare you?
Excuse me. Sorry. Go ahead.
How dare you? How very dare you?
I forgot what this podcast was about. Go on.
Tall Vampire
Tall
Lady.
Vampire Lady. No,
Yeah.
it's just it just occurred to me that since I think Devil May Cry 5 and Resident Evil 2 remake and Resident Evil 3 remake. Well, that came out later, but Devil May Cry 5 and Resident Evil 2 remake, they came out kind of pretty close to each other, both made by Capcom using their, I think it's their Ori engine, which is the one they built to make Resident Evil 7. But since 5 and the 2 remake, they've been using real life models to base the characters, like the likenesses and stuff on. So, you know, Dante, who's existed in Devil May Cry since like maybe 2000 or something like that. In the latest Devil May Cry game, like they got a model to base his likeness on, and then they styled him to look like Dante. So like Leon and Claire from Resident Evil 2 remake, there's models out there who actually look like the characters. So basically, it's just occurred to me that they've probably done the same thing for Tall Vampire Lady. And who is she? Where is she? Do we know? The internet's gone crazy for her, and like, why hasn't anybody? Why haven't they done the detective work to figure out who Tall Vampire Lady is played by? I just wanted to say, maybe it hasn't occurred.
It does feel at this point that that's a lot of that stuff is performance captured, especially with facial stuff. Somebody's head is out there.
Yes, exactly.
They've cast somebody as a sort of rep. Like I saw that she's like official convention Tall Vampire Lady. You know, you've probably seen her on Instagrams and TikToks doing sketches. She's a model and she's 7 foot something,
is she not
or 6
just a
foot 9.
cosplayer dressing as her though?
I think there was.
She's not the actual
some,
face likeness.
I could be wrong, but I feel like there was some
There's
official
an Olympian,
connection.
I think. There's a 6'9" Olympian, I think, who has been dressing up as her, and maybe they're using her for live events. But I don't know if she was the likeness model for the game.
I know who you're talking about, and that is who I am talking about. I'm not saying that she was the likeness model. I'm saying this is who they're using for events.
She's a bit shorter than the character in the game, though, and that's just lazy.
Character's supposed to be 9 foot tall.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
lazy.
Lazy. Is it Robert Wadlow was the largest man? Robert Wadlow. He was called the Giant of Illinois. There's a Handsome Family song about it. It's the Handsome Family. 8'11".
Why didn't they get him to play her?
Wow.
Still too short.
Because
he's still too
died
short.
in 1940.
He's still too short. That's why.
And I think they buried him in concrete so people wouldn't steal his bones.
Oh, that's sad.
That's grim. They could have cremated him.
That, and they put a stake through his heart because they thought he was a giant vampire.
No, that last part. Redact the last part. They could have, yeah, that's actually.
Do you know when you're cremated? I just got to get it in here because I don't know enough people know.
It's not your ashes?
Your bones don't burn. Those aren't your ashes.
Yeah, I know that, yeah.
They grind up your bones.
What did they do with the bones?
They grind them up, and that's what your ashes are.
They grind
up your bones to powder, and that's what your ashes are. Your ashes aren't your cremated remains. Your ashes are bone
your ground
dust.
bones.
Ground up bone dust.
That's okay. Well, I haven't heard it put like that. That's horrific.
It's not horrific. I mean, you're dead, but it's just the fact that a lot of people think that it's their entire body, you know, burnt ashes, and that's not what it is.
But it's bone dust. Actually, that's actually cooler. Bone dust. That's a great name for a superhero. I'm gonna go. I have to go. I'm gonna.
We're gonna have to censor that on the podcast just so the name isn't given away.
Bone dust. Yeah. Bones. You're going nowhere.
Bonesaw is ready. Let's do 3 minutes of Randy Savage impressions. You ain't going nowhere. I got you for 3 minutes.
Group of people
3 minutes of
who think that we're good at this.
It's going to keep going.
Write in if you know what he's talking about.
Do you know what he's talking about, Aiden?
All our socials are at the
he
endlesscast at Gmail, endlesscast at Gmail, endlesscast on Twitter, endlesscast on Instagram. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's a weird scene.
It's great. It's brilliant. God,
I spoke
to a friend of mine. He was visiting here and stuff, and Brian met him, Timmy B. We went for a drink with his dad. Remember your dad, Brian?
Yeah, that was cool.
And Timmy and I basically just spent the week talking like Bonesaw and Family Guy quotes. It was awful, but yeah.
Kevin, your hair is getting a bit Bonesaw.
Yes,
it's,
I'm turning heel. Yeah, I don't know if I took a picture and sent it to Lado yesterday because I just had like a big like Razor Ramon kind of Mick Foley vibes.
it's a bit bone, so you need to like turn red and get loads of veins popping out.
Excuse me, I tried to hold my breath. Oh god, I'm very dizzy now. Yeah.
So I'm going to bring us into the superhero stuff we talk about.
Woo!
So Invincible this week saw the Guardians of the Globe, the new Guardians of the Globe, recovering from the battle that they had last week.
With Battle Beast.
Mark is kind of shattered. His confidence is shot. He's trying to just get a glimpse of what a normal life would look like for him by visiting a college with his girlfriend. Eve is giving up on the superheroic thing and they kind of hit it more, maybe it's how you read it, but I felt like they hit it better in the comic where she sort of goes, I physically rearrange atoms to be whatever I need them to be, and I'm out punching supervillains. I could be irrigating fields, I could be building homes for people, she could be doing real good in the world, and instead she's out hitting people in the face and flying around in one pieces. So it's a nice little piece of logic to see. I remember reading the comic going, oh yeah, I suppose she's absolutely right.
Break all of that in a couple of episodes when she ends up punching people in the face again, though. I mean,
yes,
it's a great point, great observation by her, but she's
going to be brought back into it.
She's going to end up punching people in the face. Also, why punch people in the face? Why not just like rearrange their face with your powers? Why doesn't she do that? I don't get it.
Yeah, carry on, Aiden.
Mark's mom is continuing to investigate Omni-Man. Is that it? Have I hit the beats of the episode there?
Well, and then Mark and Amber have they break up essentially, don't they?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
And William finds out that he's invincible.
I think what I'm going to do when I edit this is I'm going to pause when you say William finds out and then I'm going to ineffectively put a title card on.
Make that gag.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wait, so William's invincible.
What? William has found out that Mark is invincible.
No, because I was just hang on because William gets his arm cut.
Yes.
Then later in the episode, he's not even bandaged. His arm's fine.
Yeah.
Well, that's continuity tracking on the part of the storyboard team, I guess.
It's just a low budget show.
Well, I couldn't sleep.
I don't know the budget. I don't want to call anything a low budget show. I don't want to call into question the effort.
Let's
it's
go.
A low effort show. It's
what I would say though
low
is
quality show. Which word?
It's definitely
a rushed show.
I think this episode has taken some.
It's 40 minutes, strides. And that's too long for animators. Sorry, Kevin. I just keep on cutting.
The attempt is admirable.
Don't make animators make 40-minute episodes. It's insane.
But that the alternative would have been 20-minute episodes. I don't take the running time as a big slight against it because they'd just.
There's a lot of padding. There's a lot of stuff they can cut. Just make 8 great 25-minute episodes.
People say the same about our podcast.
What, they don't like the Randy Savage corner?
There's a lot they can cut. Just make.
I don't think we did enough. I think we need to do more Randy Savage.
The Savage Randy corner.
I sometimes I'm like, when I think back at the show, it's like, wait, was that in the comics or in the show? Because they're kind of like, maybe I'm wrong, but I kind of feel like they're doing some big, especially in the last episode, some big moves away from what happens in the books. Like the mother is finding out now that Omni-Man is guilty or has killed Guardians of the Globe, where in the books there's a big kind of fight between Mark and his dad, kind of the government organization.
The season will end with that fight, I think.
Yeah, but it's just, but you know what I mean? Like it's kind of like, it's like that's when the mother finds out, when they recover Mark's body and they replay the audio from the fight to the mother, but in the show it's just like the costume makers kind of in on it now as well. The mother knows that he now knows that the mother knows and stuff, you know. Damien Darkblood or something, the Clancy Brown's character or whatever.
One of his characters.
He kind of one of his characters. Yeah.
Who else is he characting? Or who else is he carrying? Who else is Clancy Brown voicing on the show?
He's done the Mauler twins, I think.
No, that's Worf.
No.
Or no, that's
No.
He's that famous guy, Michael.
I looked him up as well. He's
Sorry, you're right. He did somebody else though. There was an episode where
he's
he
in
was
Lilo
doing
and
at
Stitch
least
and things.
double. Yeah, I know which guy you're on. Michael Richardson or something like that. But no, there was at least one episode where Clancy Brown has done 2 characters, I think.
Kevin Michael Richardson. I looked him up because he was in a scene with Robot as well, and I was like, oh, who's that voice? And in seeing that was Kevin Michael Richardson last night, I then realized that Robot is Zachary Quinto. And that brings me back to, why are they paying people over the odds to do
Are they though?
flat
That's
robot
the thing.
voices? I mean, why are you... Okay, let's even go this. I mean, I guess it's not that fucking much, but let's say, from my experience in hiring voice actors, which is small to be fair, but like the difference is €100 for a voice actor and €500 for a name.
Yeah.
You know, and
But
I don't know
they
what
can
that
also-
scales up to.
They can also say, "Look who's in the episode." It's a selling point.
Yeah,
That's kind of my problem with the show, is that I think it's aiming and selling itself to be more than it can be, and that's part of it. Is it's like this? It wants to have like a big knee. It wants to be, you know, a kind of an MCU level
yeah.
kind of coming of age superhero story, and it's like, and here's look at all the talent that is on the show, and I think that's the reason they've spent it.
But do you not think there's a slight factor? I think one of you might have said it before. I don't know if we said it on the podcast, but do you not think there's an element of, well, you know, maybe some of them kind of know each other or whatever, but it's kind of an element of like, what else are we doing during the pandemic? Like, we're not actually
Completely.
working. So
Yeah.
do you want to just like, we send you the mic, or, you know, you record your things and that's fine. Come down here. It's like safe protocol, whatever. You can come
Stop
down,
hitting
record
the
your
table,
pieces
Kev.
and leave. Sorry. I wasn't. That was Brian.
Okay.
My bad.
Oh, was it Brian?
No.
Okay. All right.
No,
Like
it was
it's one thing when you're not talking, I can get rid of it, but when you're talking and
I know,
hitting the
yeah.
table at the same
Sorry.
time.
Yeah, no, you got me. Yep. Caught me in a lie. There, you did. It was not right.
Sorry, I derailed you. Go on.
But yes, yeah. So like that's why I kind of think like a lot of them probably did it for like.
If you add up even the recurring cast, if you add up like with the like excluding maybe Stephen Yeun, if you add up the recurring cast, how many minutes they actually have over 8 episodes, it's probably a weekend's work or something, you know. And I don't think it's. Yeah, it kind of like, well, this is the thing. Like we're talking about the cast, so like it's a big talking point, and like whatever they spent, I think it probably that was the strategy or thinking
Doesn't really
behind it.
factor in.
Because I mean, like J.K. Simmons is probably the biggest name in it. That might change now after
Sandra Oh is in it, is it? She's
Sandra Oh is in it.
Oh, yeah.
She's
but-
big, right? She's pretty big.
She wasn't in Whiplash though.
Oh.
She wasn't J. Jonah Jameson.
Miles Teller, he was in that.
She's not the yellow peanut. Yeah, yellow M&M. No, like Simmons is probably the biggest name in it, realistically, in terms of like film credit and.
Do you not think Seth
awards.
Rogen?
J.K.
Well,
Simmons is
he's-
way bigger than Rogan.
Yeah, I
I
think we're
think-
fans of him, but I think more people would know him than Seth Rogen. I think we like J.K. Simmons. You know, we like him, but I don't know.
I mean, in
I
terms
think
of
we give Simmons weight, we give him clout, we give him gravitas. We appreciate Simmons, but I think Rogan's the bigger name. Even if he, I would dismiss the assertion that he's a bigger presence in the show. He's a cameo.
point being, Simmons did 4 seasons of Quora, so like I don't think it's probably not cheap, but I don't think it's probably not
Yeah,
costing as much as we think either, you know.
I don't want to get too bogged down in the cost of the actors thing. It's just, it is. I think this is the first episode where I don't know if it was the demand for new locations going to the college, but trying to have people walking across the courtyard. I was looking at, you know, how people are moving in the layouts and stuff, and I was trying to be objective, because I'm not objective at this show. I love the comic book, and I love people trying.
I know I've like complained about the production and stuff like every episode. I don't want to. It's just it pulls me out quite a bit, is what I would say. I wish the studios were spending more money on it. Basically, I wouldn't put it on anybody actually working on it. You know, like when I'm talking about like budget or production values or whatever, for me it's always, I wish the people that greenlit this didn't go, here we can do this really cheaply, or, you know, if we spend the money here, it's better. It's, you know, here's a return on it. I would love for them to just say, actually, let's just make a fucking really fucking great looking.
Well, that's it. You know, I wish they had a month to do that scene rather than a week.
Yeah.
Because the people doing it could do a great job. They're just doing the job they have room to do.
Especially as well, like the character designs are very complex. You know, they're not easy to kind of animate with the same. They look great when you can spend enough time like actually drawing them the way they're supposed to look. When it's rushed, it's very, very telling. When it's like, when the design's less stylized, it's harder to get away with rushing certain frames and stuff. There was a Netflix show came out a couple of months back. I was kind of looking forward to it, but the design, it's going for it's Blood of the Gods, I think. Kind of a mythology type thing.
That's Powerhouse.
Yeah, and I was really kind of looking forward to it, but like same thing, like the designs are too complex for the amount of time they're obviously spending, and it looks bad. You know, and you kind of forgive. You try to look at things on their merits, but there's a point for me where it's just like, ugh, I can't watch this. It's
so I love what Powerhouse do. I love what they try to do, even if I don't necessarily think the end result.
I just wish they had more money. I wish they had more time and money. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
Given what they're trying to do, given the spirit of the attempts at these things,
absolutely.
I work in the animation industry. You've seen me attempt things, and you know the animation we look at, or my animation that you look at, you know, hopefully is graded with the like, you know, A for effort type of thing. But like Powerhouse and Skybound and Maven are definitely places where it's like, I would very much like to work on the projects that you're working on. You're making the things I like, and I want to be involved. I know there's a Gargoyles show coming. The zeitgeist is warming itself up to it. How do I get onto Gargoyles? I love that fucking thing. I saw someone doing designs of Gargoyles like the new Thundercats cartoon, and it's like, grand, sure, I'll take that if it's going, but I still would like sort of a Powerhouse go nuts fucking version
Take
of
on
it.
yeah.
Like they're doing He-Man as well. I'm curious to see how that comes out. Kevin Smith is running on that. Yeah.
It's strange that they're doing that, and it's going to be completely separate to the She-Ra cartoon.
She-Ra.
Son of Zorn was very good. If you didn't watch that show, it's
No, I
brilliant.
didn't see that. What is that?
Son of Zorn. So basically, it's ridiculous. It's like it's live action, except for I think it's Jason Sudeikis does the voice of Zorn, and he's just basically a rip off of He-Man and Conan the Barbarian, but he's animated in a live action world, and he's kind of separated from his live action real life wife and his son. And he's kind of trying to get back in his son's life and stuff. It's ridiculous, but it's so good.
I see it.
It's very good.
Got like
I love it.
a Hanna-Barbera,
Yes, yeah.
like a little bit
Animation.
further along than like an Alex Toth kind of design type
Yeah.
of stuff, like Galtar and the Golden Lance and Kazar and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
it's
Kazar,
that
right?
over the top stuff. Yeah, but it's actually I can't remember why I brought it up, but it's a good show. It's very, very funny. It is worth watching out. Worth checking out.
I think it's the He-Man connection there has done that to you.
How much convincing do you think they had to do to get Justin Roiland to do a burp mid-sentence?
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah.
Where
I was
was
wondering.
that?
I was like, "What you get?
Invincible.
He
He's the
was
guy
Doug
that,
or whatever.
yeah, he's the guy that Ezra Miller's character kidnaps first. He's the son of the pharmaceutical guy, and he's trying to pick up 3 girls.
Oh, Doug Cheston.
Yeah.
You said his name so many times it's stuck in my head. So that was Justin Roiland.
That was just, how did you
and
not
Ezra
hear it?
Miller was DA?
Yeah.
I was
Ezra Miller was the bad guy, yeah. But yeah, of course, but 100%, Brian. It's just like, wow, they literally got him to play a drunk guy and burp. Like,
Yeah.
was that his choice?
He
or?
even winds up to like where it's very clear they were like, you got to put in like a Rick burp mid sentence, and he does.
I don't think that would have taken him much convincing.
Was that him at the end of the episode too? Playing a different character? I can't remember. I can't even remember what happened at the end of the episode. I just thought I heard him again, but yeah.
I didn't tweak the voice.
It was horrible when you didn't click the voice.
I didn't know.
That's so insane.
The
funny thing is, doing his best.
He's Rick when he's drunk at the start, and then when he's tied to the table and he's getting cut up, he starts to go Morty because he's like, "What are you doing to me, man? What are you doing? Oh my god!" It's just
funny.
You see, but if that's the case, then and I'll have to go back and have a look at it. I would wait till he found that amusing in himself.
I did.
Rick and Morty.
Yeah, it was funny. I found it funny anyway.
I didn't twig that. I didn't twig it was Ezra Miller.
That's insane.
He's harder to pick up, I think, but yeah.
I was kind of just annoyed by
Jonathan
how
Groff
ludicrous that character
Mindhunter was Rick, I think.
All right. It took me a minute to go. He's the guy. He played King George in Hamilton, right?
I think so. Yes.
Okay. I think I saw half an episode of Mindhunter.
Is that all?
But I saw Hamilton 3 times.
Have you not watched
in the
Mindhunter?
theater?
No, I didn't. I think.
Check it out.
Yeah.
It's good. Mindhunter. David Fincher, Charlize Theron produced show.
Do you think that Charlize Theron intentionally puts on "Don't Take This Seriously" hair for the Fast and Furious movies?
Next question.
Like, did she have braids in the first appearance that she had, and now she's got this bowl cut?
That was like more of a pixie cut, no? Is it a bowl cut? I don't know. I only watched the trailer once, and it's 3 minutes of my life I'm not getting back. That's 3 minutes where I could be watching Emily Blunt Cobra Pose gif.
Okay, so did you enjoy this week's episode of Invincible?
I liked it more than last week, yeah.
Interesting. I really thought you would hated it.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of flatter on this episode.
I was watching it less intently. Like last week I was sitting down watching it, kind of waiting for it to be over. This episode I was kind of background kind of watching it, so maybe that's why. I was listening to it rather than watching it, and it improved my enjoyment immensely.
Oh man, I love the comics. I love the art direction of it. When they get the room to put the money into the scenes they want to put the money into, I think it's good. I have issues with some of the performance choices, but that's neither here nor there. I'm still enjoying it, and we'll keep going.
I liked that episode. I thought it was very sad when the one guy took his helmet off and he had no nose, and then he killed himself.
Doug Cheston?
Yes.
Doug Cheston
had no
Justin
nose.
Roiland had no nose.
He had no nose and he killed himself, and that was very sad. Imagine that. See, I'm just keep on getting confused with the comics sometimes. You know, it's just like when I think back of it, it's just like, wait, was that the comic or the show? That's my only issue.
So like the show is moving, and it's a couple of frames per second, and then the comic is like a storyboard.
It's a couple of frames per second. Throwing shade on the frame rate.
Yeah.
Not at all. I'm just saying.
But see,
like that's the key difference, Kev. Is the book is still images. It's like a really detailed storyboard. And then the show is
it's like a perfunctory version of the moving image.
Yes. But you see, my issue there. But no, because my issue is when I think back about comics and I think about certain scenes in comics, it's animated in my head, so it doesn't help. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't think back. Yeah, I know. Well, it is my fault, but I don't think back and be like, oh, like that panel. I do sometimes, but if I was thinking back, like say Civil War, and when Goliath comes out and he gets killed by Robot Thor in the comics.
Spoilers.
Robot Thor.
Yes, isn't it?
Is there a Robot Thor?
Yeah, there's a clone Robot Thor in the comics. Civil War. Yeah.
But in my head, I if I was to go over that scene in my head, I see that animated. Do you not do that?
Oh no, I know what you're saying. Like, I definitely remember as a kid watching like Marx Brothers movies and then thinking about them after the fact and going, that was definitely in color, right?
Can we all close our eyes and picture a banana or picture an apple in our mind?
Yes.
Aiden, yes.
It's red.
I don't know that I can.
Really?
Yeah, I've been thinking about this because I saw a video of somebody phrasing that as well, and it's like, I've always assumed I can picture the thing in my head because I picture things and I draw them. But in trying to do that moment, I was like, am I picturing the thing or am I describing the thing in words in my head?
Can you see an
thinking
apple
it through
in your head, in your mind's eye?
I can, and I can see 360. I can even pick it up in my hand.
I mean, I guess if
I
I have to think about it, the answer is no, right?
I don't know. I mean, can you see it?
Can you see it, Brian?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see the apple.
Right into the Endless
See the
Cast on
apple.
Twitter or Instagram if you see the apple.
All right. So tell us. Leave a comment. Tell us. Do you have hyperphantasia or aphantasia? Aiden would be aphantasia by the sounds of it.
If you are seeing an apple in your head, try and do a drawing of it and send it to us on Twitter at the Endless Cast.
Oh yeah, we're on Twitter.
Just because you can see it doesn't mean you can draw it, though, because that takes skill.
Yeah, because I can see a submarine.
Yeah.
I watched Kim Jong-ju. What's Kim
Young-gi?
I feel like I'm editing this.
Kim Jong-ji. No. It's, I'm being sincere. What's the guy?
Let's get the name right and have you say it once.
What's
first,
his name?
okay?
Kim Jong-gi.
Jung-gi. Yeah.
I was watching just I think it was like an hour and a half long. I just had it on in the background, but him
hypnotic.
drawing, you know. Oh man, he just like he was drawing a guy in a motorbike, right? And like the motorbike, yeah, it was like parts of it looked more scooterish, and it was definitely kind of like issues, say in terms of perspective or certain things. But the fact that he can draw so much from his head and get it so right is insane. It's like he just sees it once and he kind of has a good grasp of the inner workings of it, and it's nuts. It is nuts.
But it's like from,
Study.
repetitive practice study. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
It's like I totally know that the guy obviously like labors to get this good, and like it is because he draws. However, all I'm saying is like he can draw pretty much anything. Like,
Oh yeah.
competently, but like not taking away that, or not removing all his work and his effort and stuff. It's just like watching it, and it's just like seeing it come out live and stuff. It's just like magic, It's just like.
Were you
how the
watching?
hell-
Was it a time lapse or?
No, it was just real time. Him drawing a guy in a motorbike.
Because I've watched it. I've watched him a couple of times time lapse, and it's great. But if you like I've watched him time lapse, and it didn't occur to me that it was kind of at maybe double or triple speed. You watch him draw other times, and I think it's important to kind of realize he draws. Not that he can't draw quickly, but there's a lot of time when he's doing those kind of stuff, he's drawing pretty slowly because you can see him like
thinking about it.
thinking and solving before he kind of commits to the thing he's doing next. I've watched a couple of videos where I've kind of forgotten that it is sped up quite a bit. You kind of, Jesus Christ, look at that! It's incredible. He's quite deliberate about it, so it's kind of important, I think, to.
So just to clarify for the listeners here, we're talking about the artist Kim Jong-gi. He has a website called kimjonggius.com. You'll find videos of him on YouTube. He's just fascinating to watch draw. He if you're artistically inclined at all,
Check out Super Annie as well. Super ANI. That's the kind of school where him and a bunch of other artists are kind of from, and there's a lot of tutorials and kind of teaching materials they have available as well.
I keep telling myself he's deaf. I mean, there's a sketch somewhere. There's a preliminary sketch he's done somewhere, and then he sits down and draws. Right? I mean, either that, or he sits there and decides, I'm going to draw a motorbike. I'm going to draw people cutting up sushi. I'm going to draw a guy in a gas mask, a firefighter, a helicopter, and a dog, and then he sets about it. But do you think it just occurs to him as he's doing it, and he just lays it down, or?
I think in those big pieces he does, he is just drawing for fun. I don't think he's really planned it out.
Wow.
there's other pieces that are kind of more thematic where he's probably kind of got an idea in his head what he might like to draw. But I think for the most part, for those big pieces, I think it's just kind of a demo. And it's just, I could draw this guy on the floor fixing.
And those big pieces as well are often demonstrations of perspective. Like he's picking extreme angles, and like he does a lot of demos with sort of boxes heading towards vanishing points and then drawing within them and understanding structures as they exist, rotate and foreshorten. You know, they're very demonstrative pieces. Just to sum up on the last thing, you enjoyed the episode of Invincible a little more than last week's, Brian?
I liked it more than last week.
Even just by not watching it. Kevin, did you enjoy it?
Mm-hmm.
Kev enjoyed it.
I probably enjoyed the week before's episode more, but this was a bit more of a kind of like a slower pace type of thing, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah, but this was a nice sort of pausey teen, like let him get his world together kind of moment of an episode. So that's going to bring us on then to the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, episode 5.
I loved it. Thought it was great.
You on the same page as that, Brian?
Yeah, yep. Really enjoyed it. Maybe didn't love it as much as Kev, but
yeah,
that doesn't mean that I didn't enjoy the episode or like it. I liked a lot in it. It was setting up the finale, and I think it did that well.
Yeah,
you know.
I think I have like only one real issue with it, and it kind of like it hasn't really been much of an issue for me throughout the show. But I don't know like if you guys thought the same thing, but basically it's Flag Smashers and their leader. I don't know. It's like I think I'm finding it harder to kind of buy to a degree. I think she's a little bit all over the place.
I think what's kind of become clear, like over the couple of weeks, I don't know if you guys have seen the same kind of speculation, but there was essentially like a pandemic plot line that they had to rewrite effectively because of the real world pandemic.
So, was that just a coincidence, essentially?
Yeah, and I think essentially that there's a lot of the Flag Smasher plot line is chopped up and kind of repurposed so that it's hitting much less heavily on the pandemic thing. Like you'll notice that they said like Mama Danye had tuberculosis, and they cast a pretty kind of not a big name actress necessarily, but they didn't cast a nobody to play her, and then she didn't have like a single line. I don't think she was supposed to play a much more prominent part, but I think in the original plot they had, it wasn't tuberculosis. It was something to do with when the snap brought everybody back, that you've got this massive amount of displaced people all of a sudden, and like that's how essentially like a lot of and kind of outbreaks begin. And essentially there was a pandemic storyline in there that it relates very heavily to the Flag Smashers, and they've had to like almost excise it completely and repurpose it. And I think that's why I think it makes sense. Like the thing I was saying, and then you've said yourself, is like the Flag Smasher stuff. It is all over the place. It's kind of hard to understand why they're such a threat, or why Carly is
so righteous about things to a degree, and
like why even she just doesn't come across as like no fault of the actress or anything, but she just doesn't come across as like being this very charismatic person who would unite that many people, and I think that's more because they've cut.
That's odd as well, because she's played this character in Solo and this show. The two biggest things we've seen her in. Somebody obviously believes that this woman can charismatically lead an insurrection group.
Who do you think would be a better cast, better actor for the role?
I'm going to say it's more to do with the fact that they've had to really chop up the storyline, and I'm going to kind of, because I don't think she's bad. It's just we haven't seen enough to believe or understand why.
So if I'm trying to then take that, and I'm doing this on the fly here based on you bringing that up, my first two attempts at what that story would be is we would have seen a lot more suffering and a lot more disease-ridden, displaced people that would make us feel for her a lot more going into the terrorist acts that she goes about. But because of the pandemic, they felt the need to soften that, and as a result, it softened her character.
That's a bit disappointing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Alternatively, you've got a character who potentially, in feeling, show whatever suffering you want to do and whatever injustices. Alternatively, you're looking at a person whose world was better when half the population was gone, who could then be seen to set out stealing something from the power broker that could kick off a pandemic and eliminate half the people on the planet. So that's two angles that I can see as being very straight lines for writers to make this character either sympathetic down to suffering, or, you know, has a, like, the concept of that's a hell of a threat. You know, we just got 50% of the world's population back, and here's somebody who wants to eliminate them again. And suddenly that becomes a real threat of a character. Or
I'd imagine, though, the real purpose of her is, if the show is about power and who should wield it and whether anybody has a right to wield it at all, and essentially that, you know, anybody who wants to seize it or thinks they're justified in wielding it is a John Walker end of that kind of scale. And then on the other side, you've got somebody like Sam, who we've seen twice now show real compassion and empathy and show that this is why he's the person who should be kind of picking up Steve's mantle. It's not about thinking you're the best person, or it's the desire to do not even right, but it's the desire to help and restore kind of balance and kind of assist people. And that's why Steve didn't want the power, because he just wanted to get involved, and that's why he was the person that they gave it to, and that's why we ended up with the cap. And the thing then is, like, yeah, you've got the two ends of it, like who deserves to wield that power. You've got Sam and John Walker, and then in the middle you've got somebody who also wants to help, and is she doing more harm than good? And I think effectively then it's going to come down to, how do you bring that person in, and is it going to be Sam's way, or is it going to be John Walker's way? And then you've got, even within that, then Sam's partner is Bucky, who, as Zemo said, is like, you understand, like, that the only way to kind of rectify this type of thing is to just bring it to an end. But I think that's ultimately what her character, that's the purpose she was supposed to serve, was that you've got two people on opposite ends of, like, you know, wanting to pick up the mantle effectively, and who deserves it. And it who deserves it comes down to how they solve a problem like Carly. How do you solve a problem like Carly?
So I'm going to give us a quick I'm just going to give us a quick overview of the beats of the episode. And again, I mean, I think we say it at the start as well, these are spoiler-heavy conversations, and I just want to, rather than painstakingly address each note, I just want us to get an overview on the record here, and then we'll talk around it. The show opens with John Walker running from what he's done, confronted by Sam and Bucky. They take the shield. John Walker is stripped of his title.
And then Julia Louis Dreyfus walks in.
She's the power broker.
Then I have it in all caps with multiple exclamation marks. Julia Louis Dreyfus shows up. I love Julia Louis Dreyfus. That scene was
a little clunky.
A bit clunky.
Oh, I liked it, but then I you know,
these shoes aren't made for walking.
I think that's setting up the Secret Invasion show. I think that's seeding that, I'd imagine. Yeah.
Right.
That's my
guess. You think she is a power broker, yes?
Okay.
I don't know.
No, I don't think so. I think that's I think that's Sharon.
I was trying to work out the logic that I was like, if it is Sharon, why is she sending Batroc to help Carly when she's been threatening Carly for the last 4 episodes?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I didn't think of that.
I'm sure there's a reason if it is, but just that was one of the... Yeah, I haven't really kind of, you know, done much theorizing about that, but what would be her reason for... I don't know.
We then get a lot of time with Sam and his family. training to become Cap. There's a bit of Bucky stuff with the Wakandans and Zemo. A good scene with Isaiah and Sam.
Really good.
Brilliant.
And I'm hitting all of these things mainly because I want to come back to the idea that I didn't like that episode. I got really bored. I hit pause at one point and looked at the fact that I had 40 minutes left on it. And when I was thinking about it after the fact and thinking about it this morning, I liked all of the elements of it. Mm-hmm. I just think they hit the thing that we were looking for way too early.
Yep.
There's definitely fallout from what Walker's done. He's definitely got to be stripped of his type. Definitely a confrontation where he has to get that shield back. But I would have built to that at the end of the episode. I would have debriefed from what the hell just happened. The guy got killed, the attack got around, go home. The mantle of Captain America's been sullied in some degree. He has to go and talk to Isaiah, and they talk about the pros and cons of wanting to be Captain America. Then gone and got the shield off of John as the sort of end of the episode.
But then we wouldn't see him training with it. And I think that was kind of important. Because it's kind of his acceptance.
Middle of the episode, they get the shield back, and then we get the training stuff, you know? But for me, I think they blew that big fight between Sam and Bucky and John Walker very, very early in the show, and then the rest of it's just setting up for, as you say, the season finale with Carrie, and we've gone 5 episodes going, this person isn't engaging as a villain, and I'm not really invested or whatever. And they did the scene, and I was trying to figure out it took me a moment to figure out what they were going for. The scene in the park where Batroc comes along and brings the weapons to her, and she goes, "But we're everywhere," and she whistles, and the people in the park stand up. There are equivalent scenes in various action movies like that before, when say Sherlock Holmes' Book of Shadows, where Irene Adler and Jared Harris are meeting in the restaurant. Moriarty are meeting in the restaurant at the start of it, and she thinks she's safe amongst the crowd, and he tingles a cup and everybody stands up and leaves. I know what they were going for, the illusion that suddenly you're surrounded by supporters that you didn't realize were there. But that moment didn't hit for me. It was very vague. I don't know if they needed more compressed
geography, kind of.
Yeah, more enclosed sense of geography, more compressed lens, so you get a sense of more people around you. The space is tighter, and the people that you had dismissed in their proximity because they're just bystanders, suddenly you realize these people are really close, and oh my god, they're all on the same page as us. It was such a wide open park that moment didn't hit like they wanted to, or at least I think they wanted to. So I liked seeing Sam training with the shield. I still think the science I still think throwing that shield around is mental.
The shield does whatever it needs to do in any given scene.
Yep.
Don't question the logic of the shield.
I like John Walker. I think he's doing a great job playing this deranged it's imposter syndrome. And maybe it's my own imposter syndrome that's feeling sympathetic to it, but you see him going to see his friends' parents, and telling them that he did what he needed to do, and them feeling love towards him, and him feeling the guilt that they love him, and that he's not quite living up to what he says he is, but people are still believing in him. The conflict that I see in him is very real, and I think he's doing a great job. I think it's just the way the episode was ordered. I don't give a fuck about fixing his damn boat. I don't care about the boat.
I think that was just to show the kind of growing appreciation that the two of them have for each other, and that they might snipe at each other and stuff like that, but despite that, they actually do like each other and do get along. And I think it was a convenient way to show that like when they're working towards a similar goal, especially when it's something they can do quietly, that they can actually enjoy each other's company. That's what it was for me, at least. Yeah, I get what you're saying, that it was like a happy montage, but I think that was kind of a good visual shorthand for like, how do we get to the scene where they're actually having a constructive conversation and respecting each other when they're throwing the shield next time. It's like, well, it's because they've done the boat together, you know?
And I don't, and I'm aware I'm going off on a bit of a rant on this one, but again, I don't have issues with the scene, and I understand the purpose of it.
I get you.
I did like the moment where he goes, "Why didn't you use the arm?" And he goes, "Oh, I'm right-handed." And
I think I kind of felt the same thing, I guess, because, like I said, I didn't love it as Kev did, but I didn't dislike it. But it felt maybe a little perfunctory, maybe. You know?
Oh my god!
if we had gone from the death at the hands of Captain America to, you know, John Walker disappears, he's got the shield, Sam and Bucky, I keep forgetting his name, I want to call him Sebastian, Sam and Bucky go home for a bit, they have the boat thing, or no, I mean, Sam and Bucky go home for a bit, Sam goes to talk to Isaiah to see, like, do I even want this role, what does this mean for me, how do I connect with my family, brings him back to the boat, then they decide we got to go and get that shield back, you know, and then you have your fight, and you have him being stripped of his title at the end of it.
Yep.
And, you know, I think that gets us to a point where he's got the shield back, we get their training montage.
Yep.
And it's just that I think they blew that big moment that they built from episode 4 in the first 3 minutes of this episode, and then it's just like all, I don't know, foreplay for episode 6.
Would audience have waited that long for a resolution, particularly with no other action occurring for the first half? Would they be going, why haven't they still dealt with this massive thing from the end of the last episode? You know, I'd imagine it was maybe a kind of a toss-up. I think basically if they had another kind of action beat in there, which obviously couldn't be the montage because it has to come after they get the shield back, but if I had another action beat basically that maybe they could have put at the start instead, maybe Walker escaping, if that was its own, if they try to apprehend him right there in the scene and he escapes and that's its own thing, that might have then served leading up to the middle where they're saying, yeah, look, we got to get it back, and then that's in the middle, and that might have worked better, I guess.
I was bored, and I don't think I was bored because the elements were wrong. I think I was bored because they're in the wrong order.
Yeah, the pacing and the order, yeah. Yep.
I still like everybody in the damn thing, and I still want it to be wishful thinking of a great payoff in episode 6. I want to see what Julia Louis-Dreyfus does. I like her. I'm rewatching Seinfeld at the moment as well.
I don't think she'll be back next episode. I think if we see her again, it'll probably be a post-episode scene to set up.
Did you get to the post-episode scene with Walker making the shield?
Yeah, making the shield, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm watching it and it's just like, he can make the shield and that's fair enough, but like, kind of, it's not vibranium or vibranium. Yeah, so it's just like it's like kind of, he may as well just be thrown around a bin lid.
Yeah,
this is true. And I googled that character a bit this morning, and I saw some images of him carrying a shield that's like bullets scuffed and got holes and breaks in it, and it's like, oh, kind of
fair.
Works. That he's like, it's a little more temporary, a little more scuffed up, a little more, I'll get a new shield next mission, you know. I did
when I was watching it. Now I could be wrong, and maybe I don't know, but like, was anybody else like kind of like, I feel sorry for Zemo.
Oh yeah,
you know.
Yeah, Brill does a great job playing him. Yeah,
he's brilliant. But I was just gonna say, it's like, because his family died when Ultron attacked, right? And he lifted the land up, or the island up, or whatever it was, and like his family were killed in that, right? He obviously comes from a privileged background and all that kind of stuff, but it's funny because like, kind of, the Punisher's family can get caught in a crossfire between gangs in a park, and the Punisher can wage a one-man war, to the point where I think even in the comic books at one stage, on the desk in the old office, it's like some letter, I think, and he opens up and it's like the Punisher's watching him or something like that. It's just funny how Zemo can be a bad guy for doing what he did, but someone with a similar narrative could be a good guy. Like the Punisher could kill the leader of T'Challa because he thinks he's wrong in what he did. But if you're reading it from that perspective and you're going along with the protagonist in that sense, you could justify it.
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
Zemo's struggles could be that of a superhero, except he's vilified. Now, again, he's wrong. And like the Punisher, there's times where he's like really wrong. You know what I mean? Like, it's funny how one could be a villain and one could be a hero, you know?
The Punisher is often represented as, you know, a mentally ill man who's on an illegal war. You know, like he is an anti-hero.
Yes, I know. Look, I know.
But
he's also been co-opted by some horrible movements in America.
I know. Yeah, look, I'm talking about before. I'm talking about.
I know. Of course, yeah. There's a version of him where he's got white boots and gloves. That one's cool.
Yes.
You know, that Punisher. Great.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. That's the fun Punisher.
Kind of everything after that is like I said, it's been co-opted by deplorables.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, which and like you know, and even like kind of Marvel have spoken out about that, and I think your man John Bertel or whatever, he's even spoken about it. It's really unfortunate that it has been taken and twisted. Like it's like one of those things, is it though? Like you pick the biggest, most badass kind of vigilante anti-hero in the universe and make his signa like represent you. It's just like you're nothing, like, you know, like he'd hate people like you.
Can you imagine if that happened with Batman?
Yeah, it could happen.
Don't jinx it.
I know. I know. It'd be so.
Shut up, please. I have so many Batman branded outfits. I don't need to suddenly be a walking hate crime.
Can you imagine though? Like it's crazy that's effectively like they said, hey, you know, this, like, yeah, that's something like I know Kev, you kind of like more some of the more gritty Punisher stories, but that's where for me I think it was kind of irresponsible to write that version of the character, to like, let's write a really gritty, dark, violent version because that's my wheelhouse. And to go there and take the character there, because a lot of people did completely misinterpret it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I totally get that. Yeah, and like,
you know, and obviously, like both, you know, like someone like you can love those stories and love that character and not be a piece of shit. But it's just at the same time, it's like I said, that version of the character was he's budget Batman. You know, and that's what's cool about him. He's got a van and he's got white gloves and white boots.
Yeah. I'm very fond of that era. Yeah,
I love that version
the microchip era and stuff. And
that's a cool. That's a fun, cool
Punisher.
He can still be conflicted.
That lends itself to an A-Team style TV show.
Mm-hmm, yeah,
the guy in the van.
I loved Bernthal in season 2 of Daredevil, but where they took it next, it was just like, no interest. Just fucking leave me out. This is.
I've not watched season 2 of Punisher yet. I used Punisher as an example because like Zemo killed the leader to Wakanda, you know. And I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong, guys. I could be really wrong, but like I was sure in a Punisher story that he essentially does threaten the president, and it's just like you're essentially like the same people.
I saw, and again, it's the slowness of me to recognize the effect of the concept of 5 years later. But I just now fucking twigged this morning. T'Challa was gone for 5 years. And I did a little Googling as well and going, they've said that Shuri was gone as well. So the ruling family of Wakanda was gone for 5 years. So who the hell was in charge for those 5 years? Who took on the mantle of Black Panther? It kind of does open that up, because without a king, somebody steps up. I mean, is it the mountain tribe or the river tribe or
M'Baku? He was brilliant.
Somebody had to have stepped up for 5 years, so there was a Black Panther. And it's not that I'm happy that they've kind of got a narrative.
The 5 years, they still got to address him at some point, because 5 years later, there's a reason he's not there. And
there was people talking about, like, apparently they were thinking Black Panther would appear in this episode, and I was just like, I think it's far too soon to be CGIing that man and stuff.
No, they're not going there at all. Yeah.
No, that's what I said. That's what I said. I was just like, no way.
If you think of the business of it, the commercial logic of it, Brian's 100% correct. They can, in the same way that they've done with the Black Widow, and the same way that they did with Captain Marvel, they can make their money setting a Black Panther movie during the 5 years of the blip. There's your Black Panther 2. And then when they need a Black Panther for the Avengers, they can pull him up like they pull up Paul Rudd's Ant-Man, as opposed to calling up Michael Douglas's Ant-Man. You know, it's just West Coast Avengers. They can one line, you know, T'Challa's off-world.
He's in Atlantis.
Because obviously, like in this episode, there was people are saying, "Oh, it's going to be a big cameo," blah blah. I'd imagine it was Dreyfus.
Yep.
She was a big heavy hitter. Yeah. But they said like they'd like this person, or it grounds the universe more or something, and they'd like to see this person go.
No, all he was saying was that the character coming up is kind of a big cameo in terms of the actress, but the character they're playing is a grounded MCU character,
I understand.
and that it'd be fun to see them paired up then with your
more ridiculous
Thor or who have you.
Yeah,
know?
Yeah, because like I kind of thought, like, to the degree if that's the big whatever. And it's funny because you say grounded. I was thinking like, yeah,
she's female Nick Fury kind of, you know, but she's a bit.
She could be evil,
maybe more of a villainous side. Yeah, exactly.
But and I love the way she gets into the card as a blank card. I love how she's eccentric. To be honest, I actually liked her.
She played the scene great. I thought it was clunky in terms of the tonal shift, basically. Yeah, you know, especially to go from like the scene that was right before it, basically, and then but she played it really well.
Yeah,
like she's. I kind of love that she was bringing, you know, the Selena Meyer energy from Veep to it as like perfect. Veep is amazing.
That Luke Skywalker moment in The Mandalorian season 2 seems to have messed with people's expectations of what a Disney Plus show needs to do, and it's the same thing with WandaVision as well.
Luke Skywalker. Sorry, I didn't like Luke Skywalker Mandalorian, so
it's all right. But in terms of people are now waiting for the next
big reveal,
like a Luke Skywalker level cameo, and it's like,
especially because the movies, the MCU movies, have primed us for those type of moments, so we're just expecting them, even though nowhere did they promise any of that. It's just like, but you do it in the movies, do it now.
And the thing is as well, if you go back and I'm trying to think if I'm being a bit reductive here, but if you look at the initial stings post credits, like, some of them are pretty fucking vague, you know, like Coulson showing up in the hammer in the field. It's like, if you're not a Marvel fan at that point in time, you don't necessarily know that means Thor's coming.
Yeah, of course.
You know, and the world wasn't a Marvel fan at that point.
Yeah.
So these cameos, these hints, these stings, like that character, Countess, whatever the hell to what, if you're a deep cut Marvel guy, that means something to you. You know, but in the same way that, you know, the uninitiated in 2011 seeing a hammer in a fucking
I think
crater.
The difference is now, though, that like there's a big MCU audience and they'll hear that character's name, they'll know it's got to be somebody big because it's Dreyfus and the way they've introduced her, and they will go straight to Wiki and then read the entire backstory and then start speculating. What's that mean? Where's that coming in next? That's part of
the fun.
Like I was saying a couple of weeks ago, there's a lot of people who haven't read the comics, just watch the movies, and they get as into the theorizing and speculation that way, as opposed to like, oh, you know, there was this story or that story. There's people out there who will hear that character, not have a clue who it is, and the difference being, you know, a couple of years ago where they see a hammer and go, I don't know what that means. Now they go, I don't know who this person is, but I'm going to look him up.
Google.
I start wondering,
speculating,
and it works. It drives the conversation about where the show's going next.
That concept or that culture has led to the point that, like, I've been talking about Invincible and I'm watching Invincible on Prime, and now on my YouTube feed I have Omni-Man, the complete history videos, and I'm seeing reaction videos for the Invincible coming up, and it's going, who is watching Invincible?
Why does nobody know that Mark's dad is Omni-Man?
I think some people do at this point, but they haven't revisited since he said it publicly. Like the team and the Guardians will know that Mark's dad is Omni-Man. William will put it together now.
Yeah, but before that, like,
Why would they?
Because he's not Clark Kent. He's not wearing glasses. Why is nobody going, that famous writer, that famous science fiction writer,
fair point.
looks exactly like Omni-Man.
That's a fair point. Yeah, that's 100% a fair point. But my point there was I'm annoyed that I'm getting a YouTube video. Like, who's watching Invincible going, I love this show, I'm curious to see where it goes next. Let me watch a YouTube video that goes through 15 years of comics and lays out the entire plot for me.
A lot of people. That's half of YouTube's traffic, I'd imagine.
Yeah, it's so fucking mad.
Yeah, no, that's what people... And if they like that enough, then based on this, video they watched, then they will maybe go out and buy some comics or something. But for the most part...
But then you know the whole fucking story.
It doesn't matter. Spoilers aren't as big a deal as we think they are. They're really not. Spoilers are only a huge thing if there's like a significant...
Sixth Sense
reveal that maybe you don't see coming. That's the only time. And even then, spoilers don't really actually spoil. When you find it out before you actually find it out for yourself, you're disappointed because it's like, oh, I would have liked to know that. But if you go then and watch the thing, you'll still pretty much... It's kind of been shown that they don't actually reduce your enjoyment of the thing. Yeah. And they don't.
So, what do we expect of the finale?
I hope it doesn't get too Dark Knight. There's a scene of Walker running down the street, and it looks like Ledger in The Dark Knight when Batman's racing towards him on the Batpod, and he's just straight away just reminded me of that. I hope it's not too much like that, because it's going to be set in New York, presumably, on the street.
I have a question, actually. So, did GRC, they're a government body within the show or whatever,
Yep.
that are
Big conference room.
that are trying to decide what to do with the people who returned after the blip, and they're calling all these people refugees or whatever it is, displaced. So it's like kind of like, doesn't matter like if you were, if Brian disappeared and he came back, like basically there's an issue there, and they're trying to decide what to do with him and all the rest of them, basically.
Yep.
Basically.
And obviously the Flag Smashers aren't happy with them.
Mm-hmm. So my understanding from the Flag Smashers' point of view is they would have been, say, pre-blip, they would have been refugees, displaced migrants or whatever that were not welcome into America, or were not welcome into Europe, or were not welcome into sort of whatever country they were trying to get into. And then suddenly, with half the global population gone, there was gaps in housing and labor and healthcare and all of these markets, and suddenly these people that are otherwise marginalized got welcomed into very needy societies and given homes and given jobs and given livelihoods. And now suddenly all these people come back and say, get out of my apartment. I haven't been here in 5 years. Get out of my apartment. Get out of my life. Give me my money. And these people are like, hold on. We were here for 5 years. You don't get to just boot us out. What do you do in that situation?
And what is the government's opinion? They want to get rid of all these people, basically, isn't it? They're being horrible.
I don't think that we've seen a clear policy statement from the GRC other than trying to help, but like that's vague as fuck, and we know that from migrant situations the world over at the moment. It's a very messy.
I think it's basically like a
process,
a humanitarian crisis, but it's on a global scale. So much the way that you try to get resources and help and things to whether it's Rwanda or Syria or something like that. Imagine that now on a global scale, and just being fed up with the bureaucracy in terms of like the resources being there that people need, and it being tied up in like who gets to help.
It's a nation by nation, or in America probably a state by state argument as to whether or not the returned person has claim to all of their original property. Like if I show up, if you came back, if somebody who has, like, you think about your apartment, whoever lived there before you shows up and says, Whoever lived in your apartment before you shows up and says, "Get out! I used to live here. I live here again." What do you do?
I would give it back to them.
And if the government says you have to give it back to them, what do you do after that? You know, you're just going off back to your parents.
But you see, I was to say, like, I'd give it back to them and I'd probably find, you know, a different place to live or something. However, saying that though, like that, like they're like, I assuming I'd just be in Ireland and, you know, Dublin and fine or whatever, where there's situations where these people are refugees or immigrants and have come for a better life. This is a really good opportunity for them and they're living there and they're making that better life. And to ask them to leave is like not as simple.
But that's it. It's not as simple as saying I'd find a different place to live, because
for those people, yeah.
But you're going, I'd find a different place to live, but it's like, yeah, but 50% of the population of Dublin are also trying to find another place to live.
Oh yeah.
And the person that had the job in the tattoo shop before you is there now, and they want their job back. So now you've lost your job. You know, it's as much as it is a fictional show and it's a comic book and we should have some fun with it. Like, it's a big problem, and it does reflect real problems for real people around the world. You know,
the commentary in the show was brilliant. To be fair, like, you know, I really enjoyed it. I actually really enjoyed this episode, and I did like the pace of it and the beats of it and stuff. It was really nice to see, like, just kind of sincere character development in the likes of Sam and Bucky, and how they could have, like, you know, an actual relationship. It's not all just action and kind of like back and forth digs and all that kind of stuff. That there's a little bit more substance to it. You know, some of it maybe a little bit too much to a degree, or you know, a little bit over the top or whatever. But I actually really liked it. And to be honest, Anthony Mackie, he's a phenomenal actor.
He's great. Yeah,
I think he's really good. Yeah, brilliant. Probably the strongest actor on the show. Oh well, but the guy who played Isaiah was brilliant as well. Bloody hell! It's like I was watching him and it's just like, how does someone come like this far in life? And it's
there age makeup all over that guy's face.
There is, yeah.
Oh, is there? Because I was wondering, like, how does someone come this far in life and be such a great actor and not be recognized, you know, for his ability?
I think he was the voice of Martian Manhunter in the Justice League.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah, and I think he was in Supergirl, possibly playing the same character. I think. Yeah. You've seen him and stuff. I think was he in Alias as well? I think maybe. He's been in lots of stuff. You've definitely seen him. Yeah, he's good.
So, moving on slightly then from Falcon and the Winter Soldier, just into sort of the MCU stuff to come.
Can we mention one more thing?
Yeah, go on.
Thoughts on what's in the Wakandan case? What would you like to see?
Sam's suit.
Yeah, but like
Captain America suit.
Yeah, but what do you think it looks like? What do you think it does? Like,
I would like to see, based on what I know of, you know, I've seen pictures of a Cap Falcon iteration. You know, he kind of tries to hold on to both identities, and I always think it looks a bit nuts that he's got the shield on one arm while there's a wing hanging off the underside of his arm at the same time. I don't know that it works, but if it was to bring some of the like the nanotech stuff that we see in Black Panther's suit or Iron Man's suit, if like the wings could come and go really easily and get them out of the way, I think that would make it a more like a streamlined outfit for Sam Wilson Captain America.
See, I was thinking of this, and I was thinking that, like, would I like him to still have the wings and stuff? And I don't think I would. I'd like him to have a suit that maybe could be kind of an edge or something to a degree, but I'd like to see Sam be Captain America and not the Falcon as Captain America. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I want just and I think it could be a mixture between the suit he had in Winter Soldier, say, like the suit, Captain America had in the Winter Soldier, and the mixture of Sam's latest suit in the TV show and stuff. I think it'd be a mixture of it, because if you look at Sam's suit and how it kind of goes from the shoulders into the middle of the chest, and there's like a little kind of like Falcon type symbol that he kind of had in the comics, that could be like more like color orientated towards Cap, have the A there and different things like that. Like, but I think it'd be a medley of both the costumes. No?
Yeah, that's fair.
It needs to have it would break the kind of logic of the universe for me if it doesn't have some of the Black Panther's technology in it.
Yeah.
Because it's like he's human. He doesn't have super strength. It needs to be made of vibranium, and maybe some of the like the kinetic force release stuff obviously you don't want to give him like I hate it. Yeah, it's too much.
I hate it. It's pure video game nonsense
Yeah.
in the middle of a Black Panther
It's
movie.
way
I love it.
Black Panther was bad fucking ass in Civil War.
Yeah.
Without this
Didn't
fucking
need it.
purple glow
Yeah.
bullshit.
Oh yeah, it
drives
wasn't
me
good.
nuts.
Wasn't good.
Doesn't need it
It's
at all.
pure video game level of attack
Gimmick,
stuff. I
yeah.
hate it.
But the thing is, then that it's like that was the other thing for me is it's like, you know, Wakanda is the most advanced country in the planet in the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
They've got like a fucking high speed rail in their vibranium mines. They've got it coming out the wazoo. Why doesn't the entire Wakandan army have that suit that the Black Panther has? I know it's a mantle and stuff, but give them the same.
There's a 1%
battlefield
everywhere, you
advantage.
know?
It just makes. I know, but
everywhere.
it just what I'm saying is, don't give them that power because it doesn't make sense to not give the entire
To
country
everybody.
that power. You know, but yeah, the suit needs to be vibranium, and it needs to.
Needs to give him an edge.
Do we see a Torres Falcon next episode?
I think maybe it's just a hint that he's done something with the wings himself. I don't know if we necessarily
Okay.
need to see him.
I
In
mean, I
action.
think they hinted at it last episode.
Definitely, yeah. Or maybe that's enough. You know, maybe they'll bring him back then. If it gets a season, this is one of the shows where season 2 makes not that it makes sense, but there's room for one. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'd kind of prefer to see it after the next slate. I'd prefer. To
I
see
want a
second
Captain
season.
America movie.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Fuck the series. Let's get Captain America, the Falcon Soldier, or something. Like,
Where is Steve?
Where is Steve?
where is Steve? Now that brings us back to again.
He's definitely not dead because they could just say he's dead.
We can have multiple people with shields. We're gonna have John Walker running around with a shield. We're gonna have Sam Wilson walking around with a shield. I'd love to see Bucky with a shield in that Cap uniform. Like, he was Cap before Sam in the comics, I think.
No. Sam was Cap
No?
before Winter Soldier. Oh, 100%.
Really?
Oh, I think like Sam being
After the Civil War, when Cap got assassinated,
Well, like,
did Sam take it up
but
first?
I
or
think
did
I think
Winter-
Sam
Took it up much later, definitely, than Civil War. I don't know who got it first.
Now I'm talking the comic books.
Yeah, I would guess.
Yeah, okay.
It was Bucky first because I remember. I think Stuart Immonen did the Falcon Cap run, didn't he?
Yeah, I remember an Alex Ross image.
I thought like kind of I would have thought Sam got the shield. I would have thought Sam got the shield at some stage, even probably like a decade or so before Winter Soldier was even a character. No?
No, he might have it might have done that sort of like Dick Grayson's Batman for a week kind of thing. But in terms of the post Winter Soldier really shifting the mantle around a bit, Steve gets assassinated at the end of Civil War. Bucky takes up the mantle. I think it's like the Brubaker stuff, because like he was dealing with the history of Bucky in those comics and what it meant to have the Winter Soldier back before they started looking at what the racial representation of Captain America might look like in those comics. And you know, when it came to the end of Endgame, they decided to bypass and not worry about that as a sort of arc for Bucky, and that's grand. Like, Bucky's got his own shit to do in the Winter Soldier, White Wolf monikers, you know, and it's more interesting to see the representation stuff in America through Sam's eyes and Isaiah Bradley. Like, I love that they've touched on all of that.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
The I don't even know if it's a deep cut. The one I'd like to see running around with the shield as well. And there's a fan image out there of her done up as Captain America, but like Alison Brie.
Yeah, I
did
was
you see
gonna
that
say,
image of Alison Brie
yeah.
as Captain America?
Yeah.
Now, watch me do backflips to try and make that happen. Right? There is a character in the comic books in the Marvel 2 series that they ran through the late 90s, early 2000s, which is sort of set in the future a bit. And she is Shannon Carter. She is the daughter of Steve Rogers and Sharon Carter. And her character's name is American Dream. Now, Steve Rogers travelled back in time, had a life with Peggy Carter. I think it's perfectly acceptable to assume that there's a kid out there that could be Alison Brie with a shield.
That's a fair thing. Like, yeah.
That is my wishful thinking.
It's not going to happen. I'm sorry.
Oh, I
I'm
know
sorry.
it's not going to happen.
It's
But
wishful thinking. He's allowed to dream. He's allowed to have the American dream.
And I'm allowed to dash them.
Yes, you, in your usual perfunct way.
I don't think that what means what you think it means.
Insubordinate, churlish.
Okay, we're wrapping up,
Yeah.
I guess, the Winter Soldier stuff. I think it's mad that we are a year after it was supposed to be released, that there's no Eternals trailer. And I know you've mentioned to me previously that like May seems like a realistic time to get this, but like when I think about seeing teasers and you know, preliminary trailers for things a year out from something, even the fact that we were a month and a half away from the Eternals and we hadn't, before they rescheduled it due to pandemic, and we still hadn't seen a trailer for it. Isn't that fucking nuts?
No, that's not right.
Well, we were early 2020 and it was supposed to be out like July, August?
Yes, I think so. But sorry, maybe I misheard you. I thought you said we were like a month and a half away from its release and we hadn't seen a trailer. Is that what you said?
Okay, I might have over-exaggerated the closeness.
That would
but like
never happen.
When I'm used to seeing things a year out,
Mm-hmm.
the idea that we've seen... Is there any footage? Did they show footage at a Comic-Con or something going into it?
No, because they skipped Comic-Con. They announced the cast at Comic-Con and then they didn't attend it the following year, basically. So I think maybe it's because... I think things probably shifted. I don't know if the Fox deal had actually happened when Eternals had gotten that far. So I think they possibly have reshuffled because Eternals ties very closely to kind of, I guess, the X-Men in ways, you know, in terms of what it means for that universe, that there's these people who have been around for millennia. You know, all we've known is like Thor was the most out there thing in the MCU, essentially, you know, that this god is, you know, actually existed, and the Eternals is going to change all of that. And I think then just the way things happen, and then the fact that the Fox deal took place, it's like, well, okay, you know, they probably leaned quite heavily on that aspect of there being these group of people on the planet with these powers, and then went, how do we hit that beat as hard as we do in Eternals, and then have to repeat it when we're saying, oh, and there's also X-Men. It's like, didn't you just tell us that, like, you know, it's kind of repeating the same story beat, I think. And I think that's probably part of it, that there's probably a bit of reshuffling that kind of took place because of that. And then on top of that, there was the pandemic. That's my guess. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
That's allowed. You're speculating. People have speculated worse.
Don't tell me what I can and can't do. I know that.
We run out of Falcon and the Winter Soldier in a week, and there's a gap.
Yeah, very sad.
Between there and Loki.
It's only like 2 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
2 week gap.
What do you reckon for the first week off? Anyway, we do a Speed Racer revisit.
Yes.
Yes, and we could also talk about the MonsterVerse with Godzilla and King Kong.
That's true. Yeah. So I mean, that's two. I mean, two things we can have a look at. Yeah, I mean, Speed Racer is a funny one where I saw the trailer initially and thought this looks like dog shit, and then I saw the movie and I was like, oh, it's all right. And then I watched it 7 more times and went,
I've never seen the
I kinda
movie.
like this movie.
We should be getting a Matrix 4 trailer soon as well. That's still due for release this year, so that's going to be interesting.
Well, on that note, thank you for coming along to another episode of The Endless Stream. We have 1 episode left of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and we will continue to inundate with our brain dumps of media and pop culture. I am suggesting to the lads that we take a look at the comic called The New Deadwardians, which is a silly name, but is a murder mystery, kind of Edwardian noir detective story set in a world where I guess zombies happen, but there's also vampirism, and the upper classes become vampires in order to avoid becoming zombies. And it's a weird little world they made. I always think it's...
Sounds like Twilight.